further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Wendy Orshan.
Thank you. It's a strange feeling because I'm the manager of Grace, and I didn't know we were seeing this video today. So, part of me was sort of cringing. I think shows like this are important because they put live theater out into the popular culture and make people aware of it. But as a manager, you are taught to be discreet. So, so in the Q&A, you can ask any questions because I lived through that. So when Ted, who has been a producer on many 101 shows that were on your list, asked me to speak today, I went through a whole variety of emotions. Part of it I love because I think when I've taught other classes, though I haven't been taped before, so I'm really embarrassed about that part. I think it's terrific because it's great for you as students to talk to people who are actually out there, working in the industry and I suppose making good on what they hope their accomplishments and what their dreams are going to be. And I thought it was interesting when we talked about being an entrepreneur because I never thought of myself in that way. I have a business partner and we've been in business close to 20 years. But the reality is one day we had a conversation about opening a company and we went off and we did it and we've created an income stream to have employees and to build a business and to make money for other people. So I suppose in that sense, I am, and we did it, though I never think of myself in that way. But being shy and nervous about speaking in moments like this, I sort of dreaded it. And if I had known about the video part of it, I probably wouldn't have done it. So, here goes sort of the Wendy Orshan story. First, this is my assistant, Michael Rudd, who came with me today. And I think as every single one of you are going to learn, you're only as good as the people who are around you. And that's whether the choice you make in your business partner, the choice of who your best friend is, the choice of who your teacher is, and in my particular case, the choice of who my office staff is. And Michael's extraordinary in so many ways, and I'm so lucky to have him every single day. And when we were sitting, coming here today, I sort of flashed back on the people who I was an assistant to and remembering all the moments that I was sort of scurrying along with them when they were going to do their things. And it just reminded me when it's right and when it's good, you really do duplicate things that you learn in life. I went to the High School of Performing Arts. I always wanted to be an actress, and that's the famed school where we would get up on this table and dance in the lunchroom, which I won't do right now. And my parents, I grew up in Queens, and my parents sent me off to acting class, and I wasn't good in school. I wasn't a good student. Both of my parents were teachers. My older sister, of course, was the really brainy, smart one, and I was just a sort of creative, gregarious one. And I was really lucky when I auditioned for the High School of Performing Arts. It was on 46th Street in Manhattan, and many, many famous people that you all know went there, and I went there for 4 years in the theater program. Probably somewhere in year 3, it dawned on me that I wasn't going to be the very best actress and that the rejection aspect of it wasn't really thrilling for me. But that summer, I started applying to all the Ivy League schools where they had theater programs. But this part you have never heard, so don't be disappointed. But my grades, weren't really great, and I just didn't work well with testing and all of those things, and I didn't get into Juilliard and Brown and all of those theater schools. But since both my parents were teachers and my mother went to Brooklyn College, I ended up coming to Brooklyn College. That summer, I'm actually going to tell the real version. That summer, life is funny, I had a horrible car accident. I was in a small Volkswagen Beetle, and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, even though my father told me all the time to wear a seatbelt. And he also told me never to let anybody else drive my car. But a really cute boy was driving my car, and I didn't have on my seatbelt. Anyway, I had a horrible, horrible car accident. And it really changed my life. And at that moment, it seemed like it was the worst thing in the world. And this is a big life lesson. It turned out actually to be an amazing opportunity because it opened a whole other door. I all of a sudden felt that I couldn't be an actress anymore. And I started thinking, what else is it that I want to do? I really, really love theater. And I shouldn't let this thing stop me from pursuing my dreams. I should just really reinvent myself and look at how else I can accomplish the things I want to do. So I ended up coming here and I went to the theater program. And I thought about being a stage manager, an electrician, and a designer. But I wasn't good or talented or creative like you are. Your stuff was very, very good. And I decided I was a really good manager. I was a really organized person. So I thought about the backstage of it all and about being a part of a team, which is something I've always, always loved. So I was in my second year at Brooklyn College. This is the part you do not listen to and you do not recreate. And I ended up dropping out of college. And I didn't graduate because I started working off Broadway. Now, 20 years ago, it was so easy to just get a job and do what you wanted to do. I was an electrician off Broadway. I was a stage manager. I was a prop person. And I felt that in the actual doing of it, much to the total upset of my two teaching parents, I loved doing it. I didn't want to do it in theory anymore. I wanted to do it in reality. So I did 2 years here. I've only recently told Roy Furman I was a college dropout. And
Secret safe here.
not on the video, guy.
That's why we have that.
I just started working off Broadway. I worked at a dinner theater where I was a follow spot operator and I served the chicken to the customers. I worked off Broadway. I did regional theater. I did summer stock. I just really went out there fearlessly with the support of my parents and just kept on doing it. And I ended up working for 4 years at a place called Darien Dinner Theater, where I was the production manager, I was the sub follow spot operator, I drove the van from Connecticut to New York to pick up all the actors. And, you know, I was a phone operator, I was a waitress, I did all those crazy things that you have to do like 3 jobs at the same time because the thing you love doing, you're actually not getting really paid a living wage to do, but you do it anyway because you're getting life experience. And then luckily, somehow I ended up becoming an assistant to a really, really terrific general manager on Broadway. And it was like my first Broadway show. It was Zorba the Greek starring Anthony Quinn. And I worked at that company for 5 years, and I learned as much about who I wanted to be as a person and what I wanted to do in life as what I didn't want to do. And that's what I think is extraordinary about different work opportunities, because you take the good away from it and you take the bad. And I would remember days where I would just be in tears because they were not always so kind and so nice, but I would remember that they were successful. And I would think to myself, if I ever had that opportunity, I would want the same outcome. I just wouldn't necessarily want to do it in the same way. We worked endless hours. I made back then $300 a week. We worked 6 or 7 days a week. And I used to ride up and down in the elevator with a really nice other general manager. He was like the best in the business. His name was Tyler Gatchell. And I would see him coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would see him as we both left 10 o'clock at night. And lo and behold, 4.5 years later, one day he was looking for a new assistant, so I applied for the job. And he never graduated college, and I never graduated college, and we sort of bonded very much so over that moment. And I became his assistant, and it was a great job that I had for 7 years. I learned so much. We were busy all the time. He was really like the best in Broadway. And what a general manager does is every single detail. Somebody says, I have an idea for a show, I'm going to raise the money, and you do every other thing. You hire people, you do contracts, you supervise the set being built, you work on the marketing, the advertising. You are like the invisible person behind the scenes, and he was really the best in the business. He did a lot of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals. So we were working on a really great show together, and he was always late and he was always running around. And unfortunately, one day he was running to go off on vacation, and he had a massive heart attack and he passed away. And I was very lost. I had no idea what to do. And I had all these people telling me all these different things to do. I was offered other jobs. I was very lucky in that a lot of people wanted to hire me. And at that moment, this really great guy named Jeff Wilson was working in the same office with me. And people kept on saying, Wendy and Jeff, you should open up a company. Well, we were working on a show together, and one day we decided to go out, and we watched a movie together. And he was trying to cheer me up because I was obviously very, very lost. And we went to see 101 Dalmatians. And sitting next to each other, we were like the only two adults. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Disney animated flick. We both realized that we knew all the lines to the movie. And like, how strange that 2 adults would be fascinated by this film. Well, if you look at my logo, it is dots, which is 101 Dalmatians. So a couple of people said to us, open up a company and go out and become general managers yourself. And I was like, no, you're absolutely crazy. Like, I just know how to get coffee. I just like being somebody's assistant. And we were working on a show together called Crazy for You. And I said to those producers, you know, what are we going to do? Jeff Wilson and I, like, we get along together. We like the same thing. We see the world in a similar way. And this very, very well-known man named Roger Horchow, who created the Horchow catalog and is probably an amazing entrepreneur in himself, said, do you have a telephone? And I said, yeah, duh, we're talking on it. And he said, do you have a pen? I said, yes. He said, do you have a desk? I said, I do. He said, well, you have a business. You've just opened your company. And I thought, it seems way too easy. I kind of got what he was saying, but I didn't think I could really do it. So we sat in 2 desks side by side. My best friend, it's good when your business partner is your best friend. I looked at him and I said, well, I guess we're going to figure out like how to manage a show. We were very, very blessed that we had a running show. So we actually we didn't have to go out and get another job. We had a job sitting right there. The opportunity was right there. My future was right in front of my face. I just had to sort of step up to the plate and believe that I could do it. We sent out letters to everybody that I had ever been on the phone with as an assistant. Nobody knew my last name. It was like, hi, Tyler's out, it's Wendy, can I help you? Or Alicia, or anybody I had ever worked for. I wrote a letter to them. I told them what I was doing. I reminded them of how helpful I was back then. I told them I'd love to talk to them about my future and my company, 101 Productions. I got an amazing outpouring of support. Jeff and I stayed together in the space we were for about a year, and then a theater owner offered us an office probably, like from here to like this first row. We sat in there, it was the 2 of us in desks side by side. We hired 1 person who answered our phones, and that was 24 years ago. And every year we did more shows, and every year we worked for people who we didn't like, but we smiled and we were great at it. We worked on shows that you would think to yourself, okay, I'm not exactly sure who would want to see this, but we'll do it. We worked on outdoor things, we worked on industrials, we worked on organizing openings of businesses. We did anything that we thought was going to challenge us and was going to get us to meet new people. Fast forward, we have, I don't know, 6 or 7 people who work for us now. Our company is on 2 floors. This year we've opened 8 shows on Broadway. When I'm not shy, I'll probably say it's probably like the most of anybody that they've done it. They varied from the Heiress, which recouped, to Annie, which is running now, to Big Fish, which is going out of town in Chicago. to Lucky Guy, which is starring Tom Hanks, which is opens on Friday, till the Bette Midler one-person show. I mean, the career is so much better than I ever believed it was going to be, and it's so much more varied. And I think a part of it is we were just open to whatever opportunity was in front of us. We weren't going to say no. We were going to make the best of whatever we were offered and what we were given, so that we could really create the kind of business structure and the kind of partnership and the kind of career that we dreamed of. We don't do it alone. We have great people who work for us now. I'm really, really lucky. We have 3 associate general managers and my brilliant Michael. We have somebody else who answers the phone, though I still do empty the garbage and clean out the refrigerators on Friday myself. I don't actually, truly, I don't ask anybody to do anything at my office that I wouldn't do myself. I can have other people do it, but I want everybody to understand we're all equal and we're all in the same boat together, and we all have to swim upstream together, because if the company does well, every individual does well. And I suppose that's like a part of my philosophy. And I think that brings us to today. I don't know what I've left out because I was nervous, but is that long enough?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, my own experiences working with Wendy has been nothing short of just pleasurable. Wendy is really like the ghost behind the scenes. I mean, as a producer, you write a check, you have an idea, and get involved with the marketing, but everything else that goes on, and you saw it during this video, you got to see the set building, and the stage management, the ticket sales, the playbill. I mean, there's so much work to be done in a play, and then you have plays that close in 6 days. So all these months and or maybe years of work bringing, and having a big star is no guarantee. You saw Katie Holmes, as big a star as you're gonna get, right
It
off.
was my show.
Was your show?
Dead Accounts. It was a new play with Katie Holmes, but that's true. That was very surprising. But you usually work on something for anywhere from a year to probably 3 or 4 years on a musical before it's ever seen by the public. So it's a huge investment and it's a big gamble. And you don't know if it's going to work, and you don't know if people are going to respond to it the way you do, because you have to find something you love about every single thing you work on, or you can't really be passionate. And I think the difference is passion inspires other people, and passion inspires, whether it's the doorman to be nicer to everybody every day, or the carpenter, or the actor, or the director, or the producer. Your passion and your enthusiasm really becomes, I think, the company leader in that way. And you have to do that for a really long time, and you have to do that even when it's not successful, because people look to you for strength. They look to you to be a leader. They look to you to sort of inspire them in the middle of their crisis.
One of the things that Wendy does for these shows is she's I guess a paid contractor. Mm-hmm. Unlike the producers who can lose all their money in 7 days and years of their time, for better or worse, at least Wendy and a partner and a crew gets paid. But there is an upside, and if the show works, they're on a percentage basis, just like everybody else on the show. So there's a big upside for her to make sure that the show does succeed. But as we see, 80% of them do not succeed. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yeah.
Okay. I have a question. Like, after you decide on a play, like for example, Grace, what is the planning process? Like, how do you put everything in motion? Like, you have Grace, and how do you implement?
Well, there are certain things that every show, whether it's a play or a musical or a revival, you have to have happen. So someone comes to you and says, I have this idea. So they're simultaneously working on getting the funding together. You have to get it a home. You have to get it a director. You have to hire everybody. You have to enter into a contract with people, you open up a bank account, you make sure that there's an advertising plan in place. You start selling tickets pretty far out before you ever do an actual performance. So there's sort of a checklist of what all of those things are leading into getting into rehearsal. And after you get it into rehearsal, your next thing is having to get it to its first preview. And from its first preview, you get it to opening night. A limited engagement, I'm always focused on how do I run it for the time period that we've sold tickets for and we've told the audience. In the case of Grace, we knew that we had that 14-week time period. So even though the reviews weren't what we wanted them to be, my focus always was on it closing on the day we told Paul Rudd and Michael Shannon it was closed, so they wouldn't be embarrassed. And that's a variety of different things every day, you know, getting a subsequent company deal together, making sure the weekly operating costs are low, making sure that the advertising is actually selling tickets. All of those things are your responsibility, and you really are an extension of the producer. In the case of Grace, she had never been a lead producer before, so I was really her partner and her best friend in doing it. When you work for experienced producers, they kind of know what to do, and you're just there shepherding them. Other times, you're really, really helping them every step of the way.
First and foremost, thank you for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Just want to ask you, if it's not too personal to ask, when you decided to drop out of school,
Mhm.
did you have the support of your parents?
No. It was a pretty intense conversation because my father was a principal of a high school and my mother was a school teacher.
Okay.
Both of them had gone to Brooklyn College. But I will tell you what I tell my godchildren. I have 3 godchildren who I love dearly. And I am, you know, have you all seen that movie, Auntie Mame? Do you know the show? Okay. So to them, I am sort of their Auntie Mame. And what I said to them is the choice was right for me. But if I had it all to do over again, there's something about having a college degree that makes people look at you in a different way, and it opens doors in a different way. So I didn't thrive in school. I didn't fit into that particular structure, and I thrived in the real world. So my parents were very nervous, and I remember my father would always say, but what's your fallback plan? I mean, like, when that theater thing doesn't work out, like, are you going to go work at Macy's? And I thought to myself, okay, maybe, you know, I ultimately would. But I just believed that something would happen within theater. Probably after about a year, they were both very, very proud of me. And, you know, when I ended up working on a Broadway show and they saw my name in a playbill, like, you know, they could then go tell everybody I was a big success. But, you know, unfortunately, neither one of them, you know, lived to see my company. I think they would be incredibly proud of me today. But at that moment, they were what parents are, which is scared. You're doing something different, and, you know, don't forget, you know, it was 30 years ago, so they were, like, seriously concerned about me not having a college degree. I think that for college, it allows you to really discover what you like to do because it gives you so many different options. I just always knew it was the only thing I wanted to do. I didn't know how to make a living in any other way. I don't know how to be anything other than a manager. So I think I sort of didn't do myself justice by not seeing what else I might have liked. And I was really lucky that it worked out. So if it didn't work out, I don't know what I would be doing today.
Right, and Plan
So
B we
stay.
always talk about.
Yes.
Having a Plan B.
You always need a Plan B.
Or if there is no Plan B, you just have to muscle straight through it.
Yeah, I think that part of my fearlessness worked out well, luckily.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's a good from the class.
Oh, my goodness.
Logo
Oh,
of the class.
oh,
and-
thank you very much.
Very
Thank
well.
you, everybody. Go see a Broadway show. There is no experience like it in the world. You are sitting there live with other people. We live in a real texting kind of world, and there's nothing like sitting with 1,000 other people and experiencing the same emotion with them. You can find a cheap ticket to a Broadway show. You should all try to do it at some
Sure,
point.
there's student rushes. I mean, there
Yeah,
are real
there's
cheap
a
tickets
half
all
price
over the place.
booths, all of those things.
And one of the things I loved about Broadway as an entrepreneur, which really gets me excited, even knowing that 80% of the time I'm gonna lose money in these shows. What's exciting is that you cannot replicate live. This is not something the internet's gonna kill me. This is maybe Hurricane Sandy could crush me, but this is not something that's gonna ever change. Broadway's gonna be here 1,000 years from now, and that's exciting. Other businesses, not so. Other businesses, you thought you were in the music business, and guess what? There's no more music business anymore, right? You thought you were in something, but live, you can't copy live. That's the most important.